Hey everyone, and welcome to my new series that I haven't named yet, where I talk to devs on camera. and
It's a
to
good name.
Yeah, exactly. We'll just trademark that. And to kick everything off, we're talking with David Szymanski.
Hello.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, I am David Szymanski. I make video games and not a whole lot else. I make video games, wrangle children, and occasionally get to sleep.
Oh man, sleep.
Oh, and sometimes I play video games too, although that's way less frequent now.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask too. What games have you played lately, if any? So.
Honestly, a whole assortment of different things. I'm still slowly making my way through Stalker 2 because I was waiting for some patches.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
I've been playing a bunch of like 2D shooters because I'm working on something that is more like a 2D shooter. And I don't have a lot of background in those sort of games, so in a way I'm like catching up on the 2010s, playing like Binding of Isaac and stuff like that.
Oh man, I love that game.
Yeah, it's really good. I was replaying some Deus Ex last night.
The original one?
Yeah, original. Playing some like I just downloaded Nox, which is like a cult classic action RPG from I think it was released like a few months before Diablo 2, and I've played like 10 minutes of that last night. Yeah, it's like apparently it's like the cool Diablo 2 but cooler because it's like hipster Diablo 2. I don't know. So just a whole assortment of different things when I get time.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Steam Deck is a absolute lifesaver as a parent. Like I think at least half, if not more, of my gaming time at this point is on Steam Deck. And that's great for things like Binding of Isaac, Dark Souls.
Oh wow.
Sometimes shooters. I actually love the trackpads. I was playing some Void Bastards on there the other night with like trackpad mouse.
I just reviewed that whenever the hell it came out. It was like, what was it, September? Something like that.
Or are you thinking of the newer one?
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm thinking of Wild Bastards.
Yeah, I'm playing the older one because I remember I played a little bit of it on release and it just didn't really click with me, so I'm like revisiting it. And I feel like I have a more appreciation for it now, and it also helps that I'm laying in bed and relaxing playing it. that improves the mood sometimes,
Well, I mean that, and there's like a crippling lack of immersive sims. So
yeah, there's some now there, but yeah, not anything outside of indie, at least not that I'm aware of. Well, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2,
I would say
guess.
that. I really can't even think of any. There's some games that have like immersive sim qualities, but
Stalker is like sometimes considered immersive sim adjacent, although it's not. I've heard Kingdom Come 2 has some really crazy detailed systems going on in it, especially with the AI, but I have not played it personally.
Yeah,
I played some like a chunk of the first one, and I loved everything except for the combat, which ended up convincing me to drop it after it was like, oh, I need to go like kill these bandits, and then you get like Assassin's Creed stun locked. But the bandits are the ones doing the insta kill win quick time event. Like,
yeah, I never had much interest in that because I don't really like open world games.
Yeah. Well, what I played of, I'm kind of in the same boat, but what I played of the first one, at least, it was honestly, to me, felt kind of like medieval Stalker in the way the open world worked, where it was like, it wasn't like a Bethesda open world. It was more like this is a big game, but you're mostly doing the main quest sort of thing. But I only played a like a few hour chunk of it, so maybe that changes later.
I mean, I don't even know. I know for Stalker at least, like I did get lost doing some side quests for a bit when I was playing Stalker 2 last year, but I did manage to finish it despite the game's best efforts.
Yeah.
I had to cheat, which seems to be a thing with Stalker.
That sounds about right.
Because years ago with Clear Sky,
oh geez, yeah,
I couldn't get the last area to load, and I was like, the fuck? So I just had to cheat and force it to load.
That also sounds about right. I've played unpatched Clear Sky. I finished unpatched Clear Sky, and I don't know how. It was like phenomenal feat of luck that I got through that game without soft locking or hard locking, for that matter.
The original one, it took me like 7 years to beat, and not progressively. It was just I couldn't really run it when it came out, and then a couple of years later it was still kind of
yeah.
It took a lot of mods to get that one.
Yeah, it's really funny to remember that those games actually used to be fairly demanding, because now they'll run on almost anything because they're like
I think they have a Switch port, right?
Oh, they do. That's right.
I know it's on PS4 and Xbox One.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that until you just mentioned it. Yeah, I think I like erased that from my mind because I just couldn't. I couldn't comprehend it.
Well.
Yeah,
I can't like 30 FPS lock, if even that.
Probably, maybe not though. I don't know. I haven't played it, but I would guess probably like 30 FPS lock.
Jeez. I mean, it's kind of cool though, and I guess I could segue that into: are you excited at all for the Switch 2? Or
yeah, I'd say so. I'd say I'm moderate excitement, I guess, which is that I will probably get it because, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm not sure there's a reason to own a console that isn't Nintendo. Because everything else is like, I don't know, consoles are in such a weird place right now. But I think mostly I'm excited at the prospect of there eventually being Luigi's Mansion 4, which I assume is going to happen on the Switch 2. I think that's probably the thing that I'd be most excited about. That, or maybe finally they port Twilight Princess to something that isn't the Wii U.
That was a good port too. I do.
It was. But, yeah, I played through it. It was actually a great port. I just wish it was available on something else that I actually play.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have my Wii U hooked up, and I know you can hack it, but God, that system UI was. Oh.
I don't even remember the system UI. I think I used our Wii U to play Wind Waker, and Twilight Princess. And that was it.
That's it. Wow. I had it from launch, so like I played a bunch of the games over the years. I have like Tropical Freeze and 3D World and
I played 3D World also. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean that game is great. I know it's better on Switch.
Yeah.
But there's some like I played that Ubisoft game Zombie U.
That game ruled.
Other than the freaking hard lock glitch.
Well, I played it on PC to be fair.
Oh, okay.
Which maybe that was fixed because I did complete it.
Oh yeah, it was fixed on Wii U even eventually, but there was some glitch. When you get to that school segment, if you die in there, you just couldn't recover your body, and then the missions wouldn't progress. I was like, oh god, because that game's hard too. So I was like, I'm not dying.
Yeah, that's a really cool. That's sort of a hidden gem, I'd say. It's actually a really fun little survival horror game.
Yeah, other than those bugs, I thought the game was great. Like, it looked pretty good. It had like a cool, grimy style, and it
very Condemned-esque. It had that same sort of like slimy, washed out Condemned sort of look.
Yeah, and you get like the cricket bat. So
yeah,
that's like the only weapon I used because you barely found ammo. But all of that, like, I thought it was cool. I like the way even with the touchpad where you gotta like look down and whatnot. I mean, I'm sure it's also pretty fine on PC, but
yeah, I've been told that it's better on Wii U because of, it utilized like the touchpad elements and stuff. But I never played it on Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm one of the rare people that had a Wii U at launch.
Yeah.
So I actually did play some of that, and I do have a decent Wii U collection, but like, I don't know. I would rather just play everything on Switch. Like,
yeah,
I kind of miss that dual screen thing, but I also don't really think it's that important.
Yeah, it was a neat idea.
Yeah, for sure. So, moving away from Nintendo talk.
Right.
I just want to ask generally, what other hobbies do you have outside of gaming?
Not a lot at this point. Mostly my hobbies outside of gaming and game development are keeping children alive.
It's a full-time hobby.
Yeah, it's I've kind of fallen out of the habit of doing it, but I do like geocaching, which I originally picked up as like I should have a hobby that isn't related to gaming. And then after that, I realized, oh, this is literally just hunting stashes from Stalker. So I still didn't escape having a hobby that's somehow related to gaming. But yeah, honestly, most of what I do is either I'm working making games, or I'm playing games in the few hours I get to myself in the evening, or I'm being a parent.
Back to game development.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, just like overall, what made you interested in pursuing game development?
I'm not sure exactly, other than I really liked games. I've had a couple different creative pursuits throughout different points in my life. Like there was one point where I thought I was going to be a writer. And then I went to school. Oh yeah. Then I went to school for music composition. And the one that's really stuck is making games. And I think it's because it kind of is all the creative pursuits in a way. Like you kind of have to do, well, I write my own music mostly, except for when Andrew writes music for me. I do a lot of my own art. And by a lot, I mean pretty much all of it, which is why my games look like crap. I write my own stories. It's kind of all the creative pursuits in one. And I think that's why I've stuck with it for such a long time, and why it kind of became the main thing that I do with my life. Because then I don't really have to choose between how I want to tell a story or evoke an experience or whatever. I can just use all these different tools at hand, all these different creative tools, and combine them.
Oh, man, that's interesting. I mean, obviously, because you're typically solo publishing a lot of your games, I guess you would have to do that.
Yeah.
Other than, I know with your New Blood stuff like DUSK, Andrew did the soundtrack, and then you had Dave Oshry doing some of the play testing and whatnot. So. Yeah,
and he was a big part of the story as well. So he basically co-wrote DUSK.
And I guess to keep it on DUSK a little bit before we segue into that whole thing, why don't you enjoy boss fights that much?
Oh, I have no idea. I keep trying to figure out why, and I can't figure out why. I just don't like boss fights.
Yeah, there's some games too where I think Metal Gear Solid was one of the high marks of boss fights, and obviously like Shadow of the Colossus made a whole game out of that. But like I'm thinking, because the new Doom's coming out in a few months, and like I don't know what it is about like modern Doom where the boss fights just don't do anything for me.
Yeah, I don't really like the modern Doom boss fight. I think some of it might be the fact that boss fights are always synonymous with losing any sort of like exploration agency. Like bosses are always like, you are now in a very confined space and there's a specific set of things you now have to do, so it's like you kind of lose a lot your ability to kind of explore around and move around at your own pace. That might be some of it, but honestly, I don't know. I don't have a good reason for not liking boss fights. I just every game I play, with a few exceptions, like obviously fighting the end is awesome. in Metal Gear Solid 3.
Yeah.
But again, that's one I really liked, and now I'm thinking about it right now, and it's like that's because it's just a level, and there just happens to be one guy in it instead of 50.
Yeah, so. I like all the interactions you can have with them too. Like, not even that you could kill him before the fight, but or set the clock forward. But like you could sneak up on him, or you could have a long range battle, or you could engage in the stealth, or you could just say the hell with it and run at him.
Yeah, that's a really cool. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid. Well, Metal Gear Solid, what I've played, I feel like it has the highs as far as boss battles go are very high, and the lows are extremely low.
Yeah, I mean, with that, like, you go to Metal Gear Solid 5, and there's that fight with Quiet that's similar to the end, but...
Well, I haven't played 5. I'm thinking of just 1 through 3, because I haven't played 4 or 5 yet. I'm mostly thinking of boss battles in 1 that are absolute pain.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of that's the camera, and I hate that.
Yeah, and the controls, the camera and controls, and the fact that it's like still kind of back in that era of arcade hard. I mean, it wasn't the era of arcade hard, but it's like it's still close enough to that it's that game can be absolute pain sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I do really love Metal Gear Solid, but there's some things where I think that transition to 3D, like the camera could have maybe been pulled out a little more or something. Like Metal Gear Solid 2 is definitely better.
Yeah, it's a lot smoother. I love Metal Gear Solid 1, but it is a cruel mistress.
And then, like, have you ever played the original version of 3, where it still had the fixed camera angles?
I haven't, but I have tried playing it with just the fixed camera angles, and I abandoned that pretty quick. Because I went into it being like, okay, well, the original vision is it's supposed to be these fixed angles. I'm going to try that. And very quickly I was like, oh, no, this is just, no.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I was like throwing controllers. I'm like, I got to get a grip here. But I think it was just the way the levels were expanded, because the fixed cameras just don't really work with it.
That's the thing, is it doesn't, and like I'm a person who will adamantly defend, like tank controls and fixed camera angles and stuff that. So I thought going into it, it's like, well, I'm gonna like, I love fixed camera stuff, but it doesn't feel like the game was designed around it. Like, I can't believe that game was designed with those camera angles in mind. It feels like, it feels like it was designed for the free-looking camera.
Yeah, there's certain points where, so like in the upper corner, there might be a tree or something, but there's a dude underneath it, and you just cannot see him, so you run into him. And that's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And the way the radar is, because it's set in the 60s, so it's not always showing people. Like,
yeah.
I get it, but I definitely think that game is better with the free camera. And
yeah.
I appreciate
that's the conclusion I came to. Yeah. Yeah, it's nice that it's in there. I still liked turning back to it every once in a while just to see what it would look like, but yeah.
I mean, back in the day, I played the original one. I still have the disc too, and I just, oh god.
Nice. I'll bet that was pain.
It was pretty painful, but then at the same time, I ended up really loving the game. So it's
a phenomenal game.
Something about that pain was like, this game's phenomenal.
Yeah, that was how I felt with Metal Gear Solid 1, where it's like I was in so much emotional pain playing that game, and then I finished it, and I was like, I need more now. I can't wait to have more abject, horrible pain. And then 2 was not quite as Well, 2's painful in a different way.
I mean, there's certain element, like at the time, I get the controversy, but like looking back, that game was really great.
Oh yeah, 2 is great. I meant more that you're just like, what am I watching here? What is happening?
Yeah, I love those scenes later on too, where the Colonel's breaking down.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? And then he's a skeleton at one point.
It is so funny, because I thought, oh, Metal Gear Solid 2 has already been spoiled for me, because I knew about that.
Oh, wow.
And what I didn't realize is that there are like literally a dozen different twists in the final act of Metal Gear Solid, some of which are undoing twists that were like, there'll be like a plot twist, and then 5 minutes later there's a new plot twist that the twist is we've undone the first plot twist. It's just crazy. The entire last hour or two of that game is just this word gets thrown around a lot, but it is genuinely a mind fuck. Like you're just like, what is happening?
Yeah, a lot of it just, and then I think it took till Metal Gear Solid 4 where it gives a lot of extra context into that.
Okay.
I don't recall if in 2 it's ever stated that Raiden was a child soldier.
I don't remember.
I think it might have been, but regardless, he was a child soldier, and they created a program to create the next Solid Snake. So a lot of Metal Gear Solid 2 is a simulation of Shadow Moses. That's why like all the bosses are similar and Raiden.
Yeah, I did know that, but I am not sure if that was because of I played the game or if I knew that from people talking about it. I can't remember.
Yeah, so some of 4 deals because Snake's old and dying.
Yeah.
So he basically apologizes to Raiden for ruining his life because he's like, you know, if I wasn't so great, quote unquote.
I'm sorry for being so badass.
So it's interesting, and yeah, that's cool. And now we're gonna segue into the bit where we talk about Secret Agent Wizard Boy.
Yeah.
Release. It's like almost a month now. Wow.
Yeah, something like that. It feels shorter and longer than a month since it is released, but yeah, Secret Agent Wizard Boy.
So
kind of similar to Metal Gear Solid in some ways.
I guess in terms of plot setup, because it's convoluted. Yeah. But how involved were you with the development or creation of Secret Agent Wizard Boy?
So I'm not as involved as Evan and Johnny, who are doing they're doing like the brunt of the day-to-day development. But I am involved kind of in the higher level design decisions, I guess, or maybe not higher level design decisions, but I'm more involved in like the decision making and really not involved in the actual implementation of things.
Okay, so like you haven't done any level design or coding or?
No, although I did do some textures for it starting out, and I do the music.
Oh, okay.
And some, I think I might have done some sounds also so far. So I am involved with making it. It's just that my primary role was basically funding it to early access. And then I'm also, you know, in there like designing it with them and checking in on how it's going and writing music for it. And but yeah, it's primarily Evan and Johnny's game.
So I want to ask, how many other Szymanski brothers are waiting in the shadows?
There's only 3 of us.
Okay.
I think people get confused because Evan isn't really, he's not that visible. So he always, whenever he shows up, it seems like a new Szymanski brother because he doesn't really, you know, do anything on social media. He hasn't made any games on his own. So I feel like that's the reason that everyone is always surprised.
Yeah, I remember the memes from a few years back. They're like, another Syzmanski brother has appeared.
Yeah,
You're like the Property Brothers or something.
Yeah. Well, there's only 2 of them, I think, right?
No, there's 3.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah, their older brother, JD, doesn't typically do the shows with them, but he has appeared from time to time. And it's kind of funny that their names are Jonathan and Drew, and his is JD. Like, their parents are really stuck on those letters.
Yeah, they like those 2 letters of the alphabet.
So, for Secret Agent Wizard Boy, I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer this, but what was the biggest inspiration for creating that game?
We all brought kind of different ones. I think that the original idea was Evan's. I think he was the one who originally came up with the idea of I'm not exactly sure how he would describe it, but it was essentially, let's make the Harry Potter, the first Harry Potter PC game from back in, what would that be, like 99 or something like that?
No, I think it was
2000 maybe?
Yeah, I think it was 2001 or 2.
Okay, that would make sense. But anyway, it's like basically let's take that, but then have it that you're like a secret agent doing stuff. And
simple.
Yeah, so the common touch point was that, 2001 Harry Potter game, or games, actually, there's two of them, that are both on Unreal Engine and both have a similar vibe. So that was like the common touchstone, and then I think each of us brought a different influence for the sandbox elements. Because for Evan, he's mostly thinking about Hitman, in terms of like what the sandbox should look like. Johnny was mostly thinking Goat Simulator, and I was mostly and I was mostly thinking Postal 2. So
I mean, I can see all three of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of, those are the main influences and idea. And then starting out, I know another thing that I like, the direction I wanted to go that we didn't end up going as much toward, was the idea of having all of your spells be like mundane Harry Potter style spells, but then they just become horrible and chaotic when you either make them too powerful or you use them on things that they're not supposed to be used on. Like my example was, it'd be really funny if you have your unlock a door spell and you cast it and it unlocks a door or a locked chest or those things, but if you cast it on a person, now their insides are being unlocked. So we didn't end up going quite in that direction, but this was sort of the stuff we were talking about starting out. So like it's funny if you take Hogwarts Castle and then allow mayhem to happen. And then when we started building it, I was insistent on, well, not insistent in that they didn't want to do this, but the thing that I consider really important was we need to build this like it's an immersive sim, in terms of the system. That's why I was thinking Postal 2 primarily, because not because of the sense of humor, but because it's a game that's extremely systemic, but it's distinctly different from a classic immersive sim, and it uses its systems in a very distinctly different way. Because in a classic immersive sim, systems are like problem-solving tools.
Yeah,
and there's a balance to them.
Like problem you're trying to get over, but there's multiple solutions to it. Whereas
in Postal 2, there really isn't any balancing to the systems. They just exist for the sake of chaos. And so that, in my mind, it's like, that's perfect for us. So I was like, we need to build this like it's an immersive sim. Johnny was like, yeah, that sounds great. And he started building it in that way, making sure that everything's very systemic and very sort of modular and open. And then the more it started getting built, the more absolutely batshit insane we realized it was. Because the problem is that we are all completely out of our mind. Like, all three of us were completely out of our minds in different ways. Now, when we're working with other people, that gets mitigated to some extent. Like, an example being of years ago, when we were talking about like, okay, what's a good way to get rid of corpses in Gloomwood? And I was like, what if you just go up to a corpse and you press the interact button on it and it just explodes? That's a great way to hide a corpse. Obviously that was shot down because it didn't really fit in with the tone or the balance of the game or things. Now, when it's just three Szymanskis working on a game, there is no one to shoot these ideas down. So,
you can already see that in there too.
Yeah. So it'd be things like, oh, haha, wouldn't it be funny if, and then, okay, well, it would be funny if, let's put it in the game. Like, wouldn't it be funny if the trampoline in the courtyard isn't actually pinned down and is a physics prop? So you can just do whatever you do to physics props to it, and it turns into this horrifying, like, bouncing around monstrosity. Or wouldn't it be funny if you make a biscuit like huge, then it gives you more biscuits when you pick it up? Or if you make yourself bigger, all of your noises get deeper. Just like, it was like there was no mitigating factor for any of these ideas. no one to tell us no or to keep it. So we just kept making the game crazier, and then eventually ended up with this game that because we're all at this point have some level of experience in making games. So the game was built very seriously. You know, it has art direction. It's
funny and goofy, but I don't get the sense that you were like just throwing shit at the well, maybe you were a little, but
well, we were, but the thing is, it's not a shit post. It's like we built it like a serious game, but then also you turn into this like you turn into a ragdoll when you die, and then we're like, wait, why can't you should be able to pick up potions and bring yourself back to life? And then Johnny makes this horrible like clothing rustling and tearing and bones crackling noise when you move around as the corpse. And
you know, I was thinking you could maybe do that, and I didn't, because I noticed you could move when you're dead. But
yeah, you can still interact with stuff, so you can bring yourself back to life. What else? We debated about whether we should make you be able to jump higher than you can. That still might change, but yeah. So anyway, it just turned into this utterly bizarre combination of the most broken game and also, but like still a real game, and you know, far beyond what we had started out with, which was just going to be, let's make a funny sandbox in like knockoff Harry Potter. It then turned into, okay, we're actually making a like sandbox immersive sim problem solving game where we have very little, but like very few limitations on how much you can break it. So you can solve problems in really stupid video game ways, like what if I make this missile huge and then detonate it and it just destroys every single thing in the castle? Like, can I solve a problem that way? And this is actually something we're going to be expanding on quite a bit in the near future, is the idea of having problems and challenges that then you have to take all of the crazy, unbalanced, broken stuff and actually figure out how to use that to get to these goals and make these things happen.
I experienced some of that because I didn't realize your potion power levels, or not potion, your spell power levels don't necessarily have a cap. I mean, they probably do.
No, but, they don't.
But like I don't remember what the basic one is called. I keep saying Flipendo, which
Prodify. It is, I mean, it is Flipendo.
Flipendo, yeah. But like I had powered it up 4 or 5 times, and I was like, I shot it at one kid, and he's like, I was like, holy. And then I blew up like a whole room.
Yep.
It's like stuff like that at least makes me laugh, and it's funny.
It's really funny, and like we found it funny, but for me at least, it's been really awesome and special to watch how much joy other people get out of those same things that we like. I'd be testing it and like crying from laughing at the stuff happening, and just like, what is this that we have built here? And it's really honestly great to like watch people experiencing it and getting that same joy out of it that we've gotten out of it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I like Goat Simulator, but a lot of it is just kind of meandering, I guess. Like,
right.
It's fun, but only for a bit. Whereas this game, because you have that set, I guess, overarching like framing for the story and whatnot, and then the objectives that are there, you know, like there's something you're working towards. It's not just total chaos.
Yeah, we are very serious about the designing part of it. Like, we definitely do just throw random stuff in there if we think it's funny, but when it comes to actually designing and building the game, I mean, honestly, we're approaching it the exact same as we approach other games. It's like there's still a, you know, there's still like design that needs to happen, and it's like you still have to exercise the actual craft. Otherwise, it's really not as funny. Like, part of what makes it funny is that we, in my opinion at least, part of what makes it funny is that we've gone and will continue going to the extent of making it look like a real game, sound like a real game, have, you know, a real actual music score, and present it as this is a serious real game, and then complete pandemonium is able to happen inside there. That's actually why musically I didn't go with like something more like Goat Sim, where it's like the music score is very madcap and
with like kazoos
zany.
and all that.
Yeah, I think they used automaton in Goat Sim, which was brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, there's a purpose to Goat Simulator. But...
Yeah, but in this case, it was like how much I like when I'm writing the music, I just pretend I'm writing it for an actual like serious fantasy RPG. Sometimes I tune it maybe a little humorously pompous or a little, sarcastic or whatever. But for the most part, it's like I am just writing, pretending that the game is a serious fantasy like game of some sort. So then when you're doing stuff like finding an ICBM missile and throwing it at your classmates, you have this Jeremy Soule like serious score playing in the background, and it's way funnier.
I actually really enjoyed the first two. My mom had them, and I think I said it in my early access review for Secret Agent Wizard Boy, but she would get stuck, so I ended up playing a lot of it. I was like, these are surprisingly good.
You know what? They hold up surprisingly well, or at least the first one does, because I just played through it not that long ago. Before we started working on Wizard Boy, just coincidentally, I played through it with my family, because I have younger children, and my wife has a lot of nostalgia for Harry Potter because that was like our youth. So we played through it kind of together, and it holds up. It's definitely a game for kids. So it's very simplistic, but like it's still really fun. It's really fun to explore, and it has a really nice visual aesthetic. The music is great. I would say it basically held up to my memory of it.
That's good to know.
Which I think deserves some accolades. Like, I feel like making licensed games is often making licensed anything is sort of a thankless task, but you can nail it in like some developers really nail it. Yeah, I think that's one of them.
What was the team? It's like Know Something. Oh God, I can't think of the developer name. I'll put a thing on the screen so people don't think I'm crazy. But yeah, they did. It's just, I'm so shocked that like I would even have nostalgia for that, because I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I've never really read the books, and the only interaction I ever had was with the movies, which I like a few of them.
They're not that good.
I think the third one's phenomenal.
The third one's great. Otherwise, it's so weird watching through them, because the first two are like, yep, this is sure a movie made of a children's book. And then you get to the third one, and it's like, oh, this is a good movie. What the heck? And then it goes back, like, yep, we're back to movie.
Has like a directorial style. I think the fourth one's pretty decent too. But
I haven't seen it in so many years. I'll have to someday. I'll have to rewatch them.
What they do is like they skip over a lot of the nonsensical school stuff, so it's mostly that. I don't remember if it's the Tri-Wizard Tournament or whatever the hell it's called, but it's mostly focused on that. And I don't know. After that, then I only really liked the last movie, which I did.
I remember so little about the last three movies, or the last four movies, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, the fifth movie was kind of. I don't know what the hell was going on with that.
I don't remember anything much.
I know those books kept getting longer, so
they sure did.
Until they, for the last book, cut it into two movies, which they don't even need to do. They just had to cut so much out of the story, and I think that's the problem with like the fifth and sixth ones. How did co-op go about being integrated? Which I haven't even tried yet. But...
I can't remember if I think that was on the table from the start. Trying to remember.
I mean, it seems like a great idea,
Yeah, I think it was on the table.
How many players does it support?
Basically unlimited. I think it's capped right now. Well, support is maybe a strong word there. I think it's theoretically you can have, any
variable
random number of players. I think we have it capped right now, but I was gonna talk to Johnny about just seeing what would happen if we uncapped it, or like set the cap really high.
My God.
We'll see. But yeah, I think that was part of
Secret Agent voice.
Yeah. Well, what inspired it is just just a few days ago, Lambda Generation did a Half-Life 2 deathmatch event where it was 100 player slots, and that's only recently been possible because the cap used to be 16. So you can imagine what 100 players in maps designed for 16 players is like.
People like spawning on top of each other.
Well, a lot of people getting telefragged by people spawning on them. But yeah, so I think co-op was like, I think it was an early on thing. Definitely by the time we started getting into like solidifying what the design of the game was and stuff, it seemed obvious that it would be fun with and I'd say, I think the demo and the early access release have even made me think that maybe this should be a focus. the online component.
There's a demo for the game? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, it's pretty outdated now, but it was for the previous Next Fest or the one before last. I don't know. It was for a Next Fest.
Yeah, I forgot that those happen. There's just so much stuff on Steam. It's kind of...
Yeah. Well, there really is, yeah.
And I guess for my last question related to this game, although actually okay, first one. So obviously Harry Potter was one of the main inspirations. Did you look into like spy fiction to kind of get the other half of this? Like, are you interested in James Bond or any other spy movies or something like that?
So me personally, I was more interested in sort of the Harry Potter side of things.
Yeah.
Just because I think Hogwarts but chaos is a really funny, fundamentally it's a very funny idea. I know Evan really likes spy elements, so I think a lot of like that element of the game is more like Evan and Johnny. Personally for me, I mostly like the fantasy elements.
Yeah, I mean,
not that I dislike the spy elements, but it's not, it's just not in my mind most of the time, I guess.
And it's kind of strange that there's not a lot of spy stuff anymore either. It was huge in the 60s and 70s, and then...
Yeah.
I mean, James Bond, they don't even know, although Amazon's probably going to ruin that.
Right. Yeah, you're right. That is kind of odd. There's like Mission Impossible.
I don't even know if I would call that spy stuff.
Yeah, anymore, it's not quite the same thing.
I love Mission Impossible, but it's more an action showcase than...
Yeah. Although, I mean, James Bond, 60s James Bond, maybe less so, to be fair.
There wasn't as much action in those. It was more Connery kind of like, smirking at women and stuff, and then sneaking into bases. It's all cool.
And then they started the cameras rolling.
Oh, Lord. So, my last question related to Secret Agent Wizard Boy is, how tough was it to incorporate all of the physics interactions? Because, I mean, Jesus, there's a lot.
Yeah. So, obviously, Johnny would be the best person to answer this because he's, like, the main programmer.
Okay.
So I'm not sure from that angle how hard it has been. I know that, like, design-wise, there is a lot of freedom granted by being able to say, screw it, it's fine if this clips through the walls when it's going 1,000,000 miles an hour. So, or like, it's fine that the explosion from this giant ICBM missile goes through walls and knocks stuff off the wall in the classroom 2 classrooms down or whatever. Like, so there's a lot of leeway there. But I do know that that throughout, and I think it'll continue to be the case, that there are physics problems that crop up that aren't fun and that do need fixed, like things like physics on a client running really poorly when you're in multiplayer, having them run at 5 FPS, things like that. But Yeah, but otherwise we're kind of lucky in the sense that we can hand wave a lot of physics problems as well. They're funny.
I mean, you saying the missile hitting objects in another room, that almost seems realistic.
Yeah, I mean, if we had
destructibility.
Exactly, yeah. If, in a perfect world, we'd have like voxel-based destruction throughout the whole castle, and it'd be like tear down or whatever. But lacking that, I think having explosions ghost through walls and affect things is an okay second option.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're gonna shift away from Secret Agent. I almost said Super Agent Wizard Boy.
Secret Agent Super Dragon Boy.
And I want to talk about just a couple of things you've done at New Blood, like when the hell is Dusk 2 happening?
that'll be a short question.
Never.
No, not necessarily never, but not at the moment for sure.
So how has your role at New Blood changed since the release of Dusk?
Oh man, a bunch. Because when Dusk came out, New Blood was, well, even when Dusk came out, there were more, like when Dusk was started, it was like me, Dave, some of Dave's friends who I have zero idea if they were ever paid anything or not, and Andrew. Then, when the Dusk finally released, it was like there was a little group of support people, basically the QA guys. And so at that point, my role was a little more hands-on with stuff. And I was involved in some, things after Dusk in a larger way, and notably Gloomwood. Yeah. Which I am still involved with, but basically what changed with Gloomwood, it kind of mirrors everything mirrors what's changed with New Blood as a whole, which is that Gloomwood became a larger in scale project that had a lot more people working on it, and basically the roles that I was filling they lessened because, like, for instance, I started off being the texture artist for Gloomwood. I'm not a professional texture artist. It was just like, well, it's either David or Dylan, and Dylan is doing everything else, so I'll make the textures. And then when professional artists started working on the project, it made absolutely no sense for me to be doing more texture work. So it's like, why don't we have an actual artist do that? So basically, and that's sort of what happened with my role in New Blood as a whole, where it's like there's stuff that I was involved with that just other people came in and they were better for that. So now at this point, I'm really not involved in much at New Blood, like much boots on the ground stuff at least. Biggest thing would be Gloomwood, and in that I'm mostly like a kind of similar to Wizard Boy, where I weigh in on design decisions and look in on what's going on and stuff like that, but I'm not doing a lot of actual work on the game.
I mean, I guess that makes sense. Like, as you said, there's no reason to have you be doing texture work if there's a professional artist there.
Yeah, the other unfortunate thing is that when I started Dusk, I was, married but didn't have any children. Finished Dusk, I had one small child. Now, fast forward to now, I have 3 children.
Holy cow.
So
I thought it was only 2. Wow.
No, I've and so basically the time and energy that I have for game development has changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because in the past I could be like, well, I'm just gonna spend my entire day doing nothing but game development. It's not healthy, but I could choose to do it. And so I could be like, well, I'll work on Gloomwood, I'll also work on my own stuff, I'll do this, and then now we get to this point and it's like, I don't actually have time to be doing all of these things. Some of these things have to get cut. And so I decided I would have to kind of focus on my own stuff, and I wasn't able to keep juggling the balls of working in the actual development trenches on Gloomwood.
Have you been involved with any other titles at New Blood, or just
not? In the past, a little bit, but really, it's grown to the point where it's like it doesn't make much sense for me to be involved with a lot of the titles. Like, for instance, what on earth would I have to contribute to Ultra Kill, for instance? That's like multiple incredible artists, concept artists, programmers, like Hakita doing all his stuff. Like, there is no place there for me if I'm not really needed. Or like same with Fallen Aces, where it's like there are so many talented people contributing to this. What would be the point of me being on there? So I do work, not work, but I am involved with like DUSK related stuff, because you know, DUSK is my IP. I still like seeing what everyone else is doing, because I mean, it's incredible. Like, but yeah, that's basically.
Okay, so I guess that's naturally segues into has Dave Oshry been receptive to your indie releases, or I don't know, like that makes it sound worse, like he's like going, "You son of a bitch."
Well, sometimes he's like that. Yeah, he has. I think he was a little bummed that he didn't get to go meet Markiplier because he wasn't involved in Iron Lung. But yeah, he's. I mean, it's. I'm very lucky that he has let me, you know, pursue that direction, because he didn't have to. And I think at this point, like, there's so much going on with New Blood, and so much going right with New Blood, that it's like, there's not really any reason there also for him not to be okay with my indie stuff.
Yeah, true.
If that makes sense.
I completely forgot about Iron Lung and how. I'm not going to talk too much about that one because I don't know a whole lot. But how is the movie progressing?
Let's see. It's finished, but also probably not finished. In that, like, there has been a final cut, and there was a final version screened for cast and crew. That was it was final, other than there was still some like post work that needed done on it. So it is like done in that sense, but Mark is also an insane perfectionist. So there is a really crazy amount of pickups that have been done for it, and like changes in editing and stuff like that. And everything I've seen that has changed is all good changes. But yeah, so it's like it's finished and also not finished at the same time. But what's really holding it up has been questions of like distribution.
Yeah,
just sort of the red tape stuff.
All that nonsense.
Yeah, we're very lucky in games that our method of distribution as indie devs is basically to manually ourselves put it up on the biggest game storefront in the world. When it comes to something like a movie, it's something you want to like put into theaters or something completely different. There is much less autonomy for the actual creator, and
and I think it would do a big disservice to all the work that's gone into it to just be like, I'll put it on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, that is always an option.
That to me would be like a nuclear option, where it's just like nothing's fucking working.
No, the Iron Lung movie has from the beginning been intended to be a theatrical movie, in that it was filmed and like it was created with the idea in mind of this being seen in theaters. So that's the intent. It's just taken a little while.
I mean, good things come to those who wait. So.
Yeah, the good thing is that like it's like everything's there and it's really good. Like I said, I've seen it. I can guarantee you it's a very good movie. But we just need to figure out how to get it in front of people.
I mean, I guess eventually. Go to A24 or something. They'll take it.
Right.
Could you possibly see Secret Agent Wizard Boy getting picked up by New Blood?
Probably not. I think New Blood's really at capacity.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite the New Blood brand, and also New Blood already has
so much.
Yeah.
Do you see New Blood branching out beyond? Like, I know they have Faith, and there's that shooter. I can't think of the name of. It's like Super EX.
Galaxy. Super Galaxy Squad.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, but they're mostly carving out a niche as like the indie id software. So do you see them breaking out beyond that kind of a niche?
I'm pretty sure Dave would like to. I know that his like dream project would be a CRPG.
Yeah, he's teased it a few times too.
Yeah, so I know that he'd like to, but also I guess it depends. It just depends on what opportunities show up. Because like I said, right now it's like we're working at capacity with the games, so it just depends on what things look like after those games have shipped.
Yeah.
Shipped in 1.0. They've shipped in
finalized, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to wrap this whole thing up, are there any particular gameplay concepts you'd like to see New Blood explore, or you personally, in any kind of your development?
Well, like I said, I'm working on something right now that is, I'm working on a isometric game right now. It's not an RPG though. It's a shooter. I guess I went into this game not really realizing how what I'm making kind of doesn't exist anywhere else. Not in that it's like, gonna set the industry on fire away, but I mean, it's like this very specific thing. I thought there were a bunch of them, and it turns out there's like not really any. So I guess that's where my brain is right now. It's like, man, I would love to. I mean, I am exploring, this specific isometric shooter niche, but I'd also love to see more of them that I could play. So I guess that would be one.
I'm trying to think of what that would be, because I know what you mean by isometric. So is the movement like kind of?
So yeah, isometric is isometric is when it's at like that sort of diagonal angle.
Yeah, like looking almost 45 degrees, sort of.
Yeah. And really any game at this point, any game that has sort of a diagonal looking down view is kind of considered an isometric game. And there aren't many of those that are shooters that aren't either arena like twin stick shooter score sort of games, or
that's where my mind is going, is like twin stick. And I'm like, that's probably not what you're talking about.
No, I guess to clarify it, what I'm talking about is that there aren't really any isometric shooters that are also kind of traditional campaign driven level based games. There's a few, but not many.
Of like you remember like oh god damn it, what was that pre Half-Life 2 game? It was like Codename Gordon or something.
Oh yeah.
I know that's not at all what you're talking about, but that's what I'm thinking of now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not really that crazy a concept. But it's crazy to me that there aren't more of them.
Yeah, I mean, because you're right. It seems like it would be a natural fit, I guess.
Yeah, and I assumed before I started working on this game, I assumed there was this whole plethora of like classic isometric shooter titles that were like this, and there just aren't. There's only a tiny handful.
I can't even think of one.
Yeah, well, there's Alien Shooter, and
I'll have to look that up.
That's not the only one, but that's like kind of the one that's it. So anyway, yeah, so that's so I didn't even realize this was sort of an underrepresented genre until I started working in it.
How about like the original Postal? Do you think that might count?
That's one.
Okay. So
that's
now,
another.
Now I'm having.
Let's see. What are the ones I can? So off the top of my head, there's like, The Ascent, which is sort of marginally one, even though it's also an RPG.
Twin stick shooter in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There's all of the Sigma games, which is like Alien Shooter, Zombie Shooter, and stuff like that.
Okay.
There's Postal. There's what is that one on the PS1? Project Overkill, I think.
I thought you meant the Bruce Willis game, because that might count too.
Oh, that's right.
Is that Apocalypse?
Shoot, what is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. There's that one too. And there's the Crusader games. Crusader, No Remorse and No Regret.
Holy cow! I don't even.
I'm sure there's a few, but it's not.
It's
I
not
expected
like super
there were like
widespread. Yeah.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of different ones.
No, we only named like 10.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Now, if you start talking about ones that are like twin stick shooter score chasing games or roguelites, then there's a bunch of them. And I know that's a very minor distinction to make, but
no, I know. After Geometry Wars, there seemed to be like a trend of reviving those. And I know if you go back to like Robotron, that was like one of the first ones. But...
Yeah, or Smash TV.
Oh man.
Which is newer than Robotron.
It is, yeah. It came out in the 80s. Well, so did Robotron.
Yeah.
But I think Robotron was like 82, and then Smash TV, I believe, is more like 88 or 89.
Yeah, much later.
Because it has inspiration from RoboCop, so.
Oh, right. I never put that together, but yeah, it would have to be post. I always thought Running Man.
It is Running Man too, but it has the quote like, "I'd buy that for $1."
Yeah,
It's funny, but okay. So that sounds pretty cool, and I mean, there was one other question that I skipped over, but do you have any other projects that are coming out this year?
Oh, this year, no.
Okay.
That's a very deliberate decision.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised you did. Yeah, Butcher's Creek, which is great, honestly, and then Secret Agent Wizard Boy. So
yeah, I actually, well, it's
I know you're not
only
as
because
involved
that's the only reason I could do that. I actually so apparently there's a 2-hour documentary about me on YouTube. I discovered yesterday. So I was kind of talking about this in the YouTube comments, which is that I'd actually intended to cut off the whole like short game streak with Chop Goblins. When I released Chop Goblins, I'd intended to like take a break for a while and figure out what the next direction would be. And then just for a variety of reasons that showed up, it was like, well, I need to take care of some of this other stuff also. So then you had like Squirrel Stapler, Pony Factory, and Butcher's Creek, all of which are short games as well. But creatively, I kind of left off with Chop Goblins, and then everything I've done since then has really been just like finishing up creative visions from previous years. Like Butcher's Creek was started even before Dusk had released. I'd started work on what would become that. So that's like an old idea that I just had to finish up. Or like Pony Factory and Squirrel Stapler, those were just standalone releases of the Dread X collection versions. So now I'm kind of picking up where I left off post Chop Goblins. And part of that is that I want to take some time, not really relaxing, because I don't do that. I'm not good at that, but I very deliberately do not want to try and release something else this year, for my own sake, and also for the sake that I think I'm maybe a little bit overexposed in the niche that I inhabit. I don't want to get people to get bored.
I don't know if I would say that, because usually I'm not the biggest fan of Iron Lung because I don't really care for horror games, but most of your stuff is always interesting in some way or fashion, even if it's not like the most polished or longest game. But
yeah, well, I guess that's kind of I'm done. I feel like I'm in a rut. And I felt like I was in a rut even back in 2022. It's like, okay, let's try something new. And so I definitely feel that now. Like, on it, if not for me wanting to leave Unity because of all that stuff, I don't think I would have released Butcher's Creek right now. I think I would have set that aside on the back burner and maybe not released it.
I mean, but I thought it was great. Like I said,
that's
very like focused. You know, it's not even 2 hours, and it has that Condemned kind of hook.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. But yeah, so I would like to do something different.
Fair.
You know, and I think just from seeing what people say and how people react to stuff, I feel like it's the time. I think Butcher's Creek was testing it a little bit, like in terms of like what people were gonna accept without being like, hey, wait a second, this guy is doing the same thing over and over. I think that release was like testing the boundaries a little bit, and it's definitely time to like make sure people are understand that I'm not doing the same thing over and over again.
Oh.
You know, because when people are like, oh, this guy kind of doesn't evolve and change. It's a weird balance, because on the one hand you're like, well,
I mean, I totally get what you're saying too.
Yeah, it's like you want to give people what they're looking for. Not, you know, I hate describing it like this, but in a way it's like your work is a product. You want to give them the product that they want, but then at the same time you gotta change and evolve and make it new and exciting, make something different. Otherwise people get bored of stuff, even if it's something really cool. Like, I love boomer shooters, obviously.
Yeah, I know. I had a little period where I was like,
yeah,
that's kind of suck. Like,
there's I needed a break for like a year or two from boomer shooters. I still like play, like, but like I needed a break because it was too much. It's like after doing DUSK, being really heavily into researching, you know, and then playing all the other developer shooters and stuff. It just got to the point where it's like, I need something else. Sometimes no matter how cool a thing is, you just need a break from it and you need to do something else. You see it happen with audiences too. Like, Call of Duty 4 was such a huge hit because everyone was really tired of World War II shooters, and playing a modern combat game was something new and different. And then you fast forward how many years, like what, a decade or so, and you get to, wow, we're really bored of modern combat games. And then Titanfall 2 everyone loves, and then
Titanfall 2 was exactly a decade after, so that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it was, you're right,
it was exactly a decade. I think Call of Duty kind of, for me personally, tapered off after Black Ops, but
I honestly don't like, I
don't really like Call of Duty anymore.
Well, my experience with Call of Duty is basically playing Call of Duty 4 for a few hours and getting really bored. So not for me. I don't think it's for me.
That's fair. More people should learn to say that too.
I'll tell you what, watching, like, being old enough now that I've watched that series evolve and change over, like, what, 2 decades or whatever.
It's 22 years old now, I think.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I didn't really pay attention at the start, but since Call of Duty 4 at least, watching the evolution happen, it makes me feel like I'm insane, because
they go back and then
like
forward
just
and then back and forward. Like,
yeah, seeing the backlash to World at War when it released, people being like, why are we going back to a World War II game? We are so tired of World War II games. And then not paying much attention, because I don't really play Call of Duty, and then getting flashbanged with people be like, man, World at War was so good. That was one of the best. Like, when did this happen? And then Call of Duty being like, guys, guess what? Call of Duty World War II. And everyone being like, yeah! Like, when did we, what? It's been that long? It's really been that long that now we're back, like,
from what I understand,
it makes you feel insane.
From what I understand, people didn't really like that one.
Did they not?
Or maybe it was Vanguard, which is...
I don't know. I can't keep track of them. There's so many. And then I guess there was like exosuits at one point, and yeah, people were like, this is kind of dumb. But then now they're like, the exosuits were great, and
yeah,
I don't know. I can't keep up with it. So, games industry is wild.
Yeah, that's I suppose the best note to leave this off on.
Yeah.
Thank you for spending a little over an hour with me. I probably won't edit much of this, but if I do, there'll be some like clips of gameplay and whatnot. And
all right.
Yeah, it was a good talk. I'm happy to have you on the channel for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.